Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Jillian. Happy July 4th weekend. Totally fraught with politics. And it is what it is. I just like whatever at this point. I have no skin in the game. I am America. And last night we had so many people's fireworks. It was insane. So yeah, that was a little crazy. Fireworks last night were just in my neighborhood, like flashes of lights and big booms. It sounded like actually a war zone. I don't know, something about the fireworks, which are fun, but it does sound like a war zone. So I feel bad for animals and veterans that have to experience like that in your neighborhood. Luckily, my dog and myself do not react to anything like that, really. Even with me being a war baby, I have no reaction to fireworks. But um, so yeah, yesterday I was reading. I don't know, for some reason, my people on my page, like my Facebook, well, my Jilly G's people that are doing, that are on Facebook, and of course, they always strike something within me because I see the levels of evolution they're in. Different. Some of them just started. Other people have been on it for a while and they're doing their own thing. And it was interesting because somebody that's new on my Facebook, who happens to also be uh, homosexual, which is great, which is fine. He was mentioning something about love, and I'm just like, love. Okay, I get it. I understand. And and that was kind of put me under fire with Dr. Phil because I was doing a lot of different research about hormones and how people manifest their hormones in so many different ways. And, when we itemize what the different hormonal manifestations are, it becomes political. When you actually have a name for your hormones and what you do with your hormones, it becomes political. So that's what got me in trouble with Dr. Phil, was the fact that I mentioned a specific political name. And it's like you almost can't even say the name. But I did say the name earlier because I wanted to make sure you guys understood where I was coming from. Right now, everybody in our society, that has a hormonally based relationship, and I don't care what it is, whether it's mother, daughter, father, daughters, mother, whatever, brother, whatever, you have a relationship based upon your hormones. Inevitably, it's going to be imbalanced unless you have a higher purpose for that relationship. Not just because you're raising this kid, because you brought them into this world and this is just a fruit of your loins, which seems to be like everybody that has children, that's their claim to fame, is that yes, I adopted this kid, or I bore this kid, or this is my relationship and I met him somewhere or met him here and he was cute and she was cute and that was really the extent of it. And then people start figuring out that their relationship has a higher purpose down the road, or not. People get divorced all the time. People break up all the time. Okay, and so I was reading his post, and he's a really cool dude. I mean, he's new in my group, and he's drinking the juice, and but he's reading about like looking for his vibe tribe, and I'm like, why do I keep seeing that around? And we're looking at my group, and my group is all about we're not talking about the vibe tribe. We're not doing the whole let's all hang out and talk and interact with each other all the time and validate and all this stuff. No, my group is like, you go in there, you read all the information, you get the book, maybe you read people's stuff, maybe you don't, and then you only share when you have something really worth sharing. It's like we're not trying, like in my group, we're not trying to mirror each other, we're not trying to validate each other, we are and we aren't. It's a very fine line. It's like, my group really respects the individual. We don't bring in our politics really in there. I've kind of went through my own fluctuations of politics, and now I'm taking myself out of the war. I have no war out there. There's no war. Anytime I respond to something, I'm participating in a war. So I see stuff and I want to respond to, but I'm like, it's not even my war. Who cares? As soon as you respond to someone's question, or as soon as you respond to somebody's, gripe, you just entered into a war that you didn't know that you're going to enter into. It's like a honey trap. Okay, and it's not really a honey trap, but it is, because it almost seems like it's very satisfying to give your opinion about something and have a stance on something, but in reality you're just feeding into somebody else's war that really, do you really have any business in? You didn't really know about this war until someone said something, and now like, oh no, there's a war, which is basically a response to somebody who has some of a disagreement or whatever. So he's just saying something about vibe tribe, and I'm like, why do we have people in our lives? Who are people in our lives? There really are. I mean, when you are constantly putting up a mirror, because that's what people are. They're mirrors. They are a reflection of you. So if you're constantly surrounding yourself by people all the time, whatever they are, I don't care who they are, you're constantly wanting to look at yourself. But why is that? Why are you wanting to look at yourself? Well, because there's something in you, within you, that's missing. I mean, I knew when I found my husband, I was missing something. I was missing certain things that I needed from him, as well as vice versa. That's why he got married to me, because we both had something to offer each other. Okay, and then then we grew together, and then yeah, we went through our clashes, our conflicts, and then we eventually are evolving together. And it could take one person who's evolving, the other person still staying wherever, and that's fine, because it only takes one person to make a war or to create peace. Either you stay with it and you deal with it and the person sort of somewhat changes it, or you leave a relationship. There's only two ways in any relationship. Okay? You count out the pros and the cons, and you figure out what's worth the battle and what isn't. And so yeah, so every single relationship that's first based in hormones, okay, if you don't find a higher purpose for that relationship, it ain't going to last. And so that goes with every single, relation, whatever it is, sexual relationship. Those are probably the one most volatile relationships are the sexual relationships. No matter across the board, they are the most volatile, most volatile. And that there is no reliability in biochemical relationships when it's based upon your hormones. But how can you, then when you do something like when you have a higher purpose, what's a higher purpose? Isn't that based upon hormones too? Well, I suppose so, but it's almost like you have to have a mission statement, just like any company. When you go to a company and if you don't know what the mission statement is, then what's the purpose of the company? Okay? It almost like you get to treat every single relationship that you have as if there was a specific mission statement that you both are in agreement with. Because if one person has a mission statement, the other person has no idea what that mission statement is, you're going to have a conflict. You're going to have misunderstandings. You're going to have expectations that are unmet. There's going to be total confusion in that relationship. And then people are never going to resent each other because both of them have their own mission statements, okay? And they're expecting the other person to adhere to their mission statement when no one knew about that mission statement except for that person. And so it becomes really interesting. So when you look at like with people who are on Jilly Juice, and we're gonna be living for a long ass time, people are gonna come and go. People are gonna die off in your world. You may live longer than your kids. You may live longer than your husband, your wife, whoever. I mean, if I have no cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and I make relatively good decisions where I'm not putting myself in front of a car or whatever, I'm going to be around for a while, okay? Which means that I better be okay with being on my own. But what about people that are in the Jilly Juice world? Aren't you going to hang? Well, I mean, I have friends like Bridget. Bridget Lee's my friend, but am I going to sit in her living room every single day just looking at her? No. Bridget has her own world. Let's say if only two of us are in this world, okay? If only two of us are in this world doing the Jilly Juice, we're the only ones doing the Jilly Juice. Am I going to sit in Bridget's living room for the rest of my life? Till kingdom come? No. I'm going to have my own house. I'm going to have my own life, whatever that is. I'll hang out with her or whoever else that's kind of within my, that shares the same things, but we're all going to really have our own life. I mean, companionship is great, but what is the companionship for, and what are you trying to achieve? Am I going to want to, let's say years down the road, am I going to want a companion right next to me 24/7? Potentially not. When you become more self-sufficient than not, you're not going to want to have that person right next to you. But if you have things that you still are needing for whatever reason, whether it's, body, mind, and spirit, you're going to need the people around you. Because I look at, people who are friends, and I wonder, why are they friends? What are they friends for? What's it? And then you really analyze what they're friends for. And then there's definitely needs that were not met when they were children, or even today. There's something missing in people today of why they have people in their life to make up what they're lacking. Why do you have the certain friends you have on your Facebook? Because you're lacking something. Why do you belong to the groups you have? Why do you have the belief systems that you have? There's something lacking in you that you need to have some kind of validation. And then when you don't need validation, you're like, well, where are the people? Because I've been accused of like, whoa, you don't have a lot of friends, Julie. You don't have, because I don't need a lot of validation. Do you realize that the amount of people that you have in your life is a validation? It's like an affirmation. It's like, and you're like, well, maybe you can't sustain relationships. No, maybe there isn't really the people haven't been showed worthy enough for me to have the kind of relationship that I want, right? And so, so when you're on the J juice, you're going to realize that, hormonally based relationships will inevitably create imbalances. They really will. Now, you can say, well, my relationship with my mom has kind of jaded my perspective about mother-daughters and father-daughters and da-da-da-da and sons and mothers and sons and fathers. Not necessarily. If anything, the things that I realize within my own life tells me how volatile those can be. How when things are based upon hormones, and things are based upon the names of the hormones, like love and hate and lust and all of that. When biochemistry changes, for whatever reason, people grow and their biochemistry changes. I read somewhere on someone's Facebook where you can love someone, you keep forgiving someone for doing all this stuff, you keep forgiving, eventually you're going to resent them. But that's a misplaced love. When you have an unconditional love for your son, daughter, or your mother, or and then they do things that are disrespectful or whatever, and you keep forgiving. That's like disrespecting yourself. Now, not everybody has that kind of relationship, and I don't know everyone's relationships, but that's the thing, is that what are your relationships based upon? Is it the fact that you are biologically related and that's the only thing, and you're allowing someone to disrespect you? Okay, is that enough? And the reason why you keep those relationships around, is it because that, you don't want to be alone. And so you're willing to take, whatever. And so anyways, it's interesting, because I should have said that on Dr. Phil, but back in Dr. Phil days, I was still exploring all of just the hormones, what is supposed to be normal. We don't know what normal is, but we're looking at it now. I mean, I'm reading this girl's Facebook about the New World Order, and it's like, oh my God. But the New World Order, in a lot of ways, is exactly where the Jilly Juice is going. And it was not planned that way, okay? But I think evolution is an inevitable thing that actually has a specific outcome that you could measure, and that there's a specific model that just for once you realize how evolution actually works, there is a specific model that can be written out. And I think that's kind of like what the Georgia Guidestones are all about. Okay, inevitably, you're going to have balance in humans and balance in nature and all that. Inevitably, you're going to guide reproduction carefully, because how many people who are so imbalanced are going to be creating so many imbalanced kids before society says, okay, we had enough of this, and then Mother Nature has enough of it, and then they kill off the people. Mother Nature does, destroys those that are that imbalanced. I mean, Mother Nature eventually will come into play, okay, and keep the balance. And so, I was reading that girl, I was like, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to seem like what the Jilly Juice is doing is like poisonous, because it's not. But it's all in how you look at the Jilly Juice. If you're afraid of salt, then you're going to think everything about Jilly Juice is poisonous, okay? But salt is not poison. When you think about who is demonizing salt, it's the holistic allopathic, especially the allopathic, and they don't want anybody taking any kind of salt. Then you wonder, they're also the ones that do all the prostaglandin inhibitors, the painkillers, the suppression, turning off your genes, turning on your genes. They're the ones that are doing all these things to people to control their evolution, and where they only have a very, limited lifespan. Is it intentional? I have no idea. I think it's a mass ignorance, because let me tell you, if Bill Gates was that evil and that that much of a smart dude, he wouldn't be aging the way he is. He's smart, but he's not that smart. But, the New World Order, so I was reading this girl's This meme says, "The New World Order" by Ralph Epperson. The New World Order will include changes in the family. Okay, marriages that are same sex will be legalized. Okay, parents will not be allowed to raise their children. Okay, the state will. Well, yeah, it's happening. But when you have parents that are listening to authority that are going to these colleges, then that's essentially you're raising your kid by the state, because college is the state. Do you realize that the college is the state? You get your kid gets a degree, and then the kid has a kid, and they're teaching their kids everything relative to what the state wants. Okay, so yeah, your kids are being taught by the state, because the very nature of you teaching your children based upon your university education. All women will be employed by the state and not allowed to be homemakers. Well, I mean, that's not happened yet, but remember, we're still in the beginnings of it. Okay, guys. Divorce will become exceedingly early, and monogamous marriages will slowly be phased out. Well, we're already seeing that, but I'm looking at where people are not going to want to go and procreate. They're going to want to go and produce in their strengths. They're going to want to balance out the environment with their life. They're going to want to balance out their own body, mind, and spirit. That'll manifest where they're not taking on so much wealth, or like I'm watching Hoarders last night, and I'm like, oh my God. I was watching the TLC channel. It's like all the crazy people in the world. Well, not crazy, but all the people that are very imbalanced in the world, and it's just like condensed in the TLC channel. And I'm watching Hoarders, and I'm just like, these people they accumulate so much. That's a total imbalance, and it's triggered by trauma, to where they bury themselves alive in all of their stuff. And I'm just like, I've always been a minimalist, so I'm like, I can't even fathom thinking of having that much stuff around me. That would drive me crazy. Okay? The workplace. The government will become the owner of all the factories of production. Well, okay, yeah, it's happening. The private ownership of property will be outlawed. Religion, okay, well, it could be happening, yeah, eminent domain, all that stuff. The workplace. The government will be, religion. Religion will be outlawed, and believers will be either eliminated or imprisoned. There will be a new religion, the worship of man in his mind. I can't argue with the mind, but it has to be the body, mind, and spirit. It can't be just the mind. The body, mind, and spirit all have to be aligned. The fact that they're pointing out just the mind, that would be a manifestation of the body and the spirit. The worship of man in his mind will all believe in the new religion. This isn't too far from the truth. Truth, not fact. Because remember, truth is perception. But the New World Order is not too far from where Jilly Juice is going. It's like I'm not putting myself in wars. I don't have any specific affinity for any specific religion, because it's all the same. Politics, religion, and science are all the same. The words separate us. All hormonal relationships are very imbalanced unless you have a major, I know. Here's the thing, with my husband not being on the J juice and he's doing his thing, he's taking care of business. I have a mission statement for my life and my relationship. My mission statement is to make sure that my husband's taken care of in the best way that we've agreed upon in the beginning. And I get my books out, and I accomplished really making sure that these books spell out every single thing that I've been learning and doing and pointing out. And then once my next book comes out, then it's whatever I have to do to make sure that I'm a good source of support for the people that are still trying to figure out Jilly Juice. How do I speak to all different languages? And I'm not talking about Spanish and, that, yes, is down the road, Spanish and German and all that, there's different languages, as far as the translation of the Jilly Juice stuff. But I'm talking about how do I reach everybody in all of their perspective worlds, their own language, their own perspective, their own jargon, their own context. How do I reach all of everybody to where they get the power of the J Juice? Okay? And it's not like I'm not trying to get on any talk show. I'm not trying to do any major marketing. because you don't sell this to people. It's word of mouth, and people have to see the results in their friends and family, which means that everyone that's doing the J juice has a responsibility, because the more I try to sell this, the more I get resistance. So there's no selling J juice. Okay, it's seeing is believing. When you're doing the J juice and you're actually changing your thought process, you're changing. Yeah, you look cuter. Yeah, you look younger. But that will happen over time. But it's the body, mind, and spirit. What do you exemplify in body, mind, and spirit? That is really what is really going to be the evidence of the J juice protocol, of which then people will start seeing and taking notice, and they actually doing it. Not just like taking notice, like, oh, you look cute. Oh, you're awesome. But where they're like, oh my God, I see what this could do for me. That is the power of J juice. And that's going to take time. So there really is no shoving, J juice, but there's no selling J juice. There's no marketing J juice. It's just something that you put out there, an idea, a truth, and either someone is going to buy into it or not. But it definitely is not something we shove down anyone's throat, because that's based in hormones. That's based in you wanting to convert somebody. That's hormones. Okay? And any kind of relationship based in hormones, where you have an intention to convert somebody, that is like, okay, that's volatile. So I know I do that, which is why, some relationships I've decided to leave, because it is based in hormones. It's trying to convert somebody into your way of line of thought. And either they will naturally, gradually be aligned with you, or they will resist you. But they'll say they want to align with you because they see the potential for their own agenda, but you notice the resistance in the background. And when you get resistance in the background, you know that there's inauthenticity going on. Doesn't mean they have to agree with everything you say. But I think that when you don't agree with somebody on everything that they're saying, that you're something you're struggling with. Because, you look at it, when you really look at my statement about, all relationships are based on hormonal imbalances, it's so true. It's so true. Reproduction comes from chaos. It comes from a hormonal imbalance. That's why you're reproducing. Okay? When you get together with somebody, marriages are based on hormonal imbalances. You're trying to fulfill something that you don't have yourself in somebody else. And it's state sanctioned. But the state sanctions hormonal imbalances all over the place. That's why they have the system. That's why they have university, to teach you to keep catering to the system, to the imbalances of the system. Yeah, you got to have psychiatry, chemistry, and psychology and oncology and medical and holistic and all this to cater to every single imbalance. We have to have a justice system, a legislative system, because hormonally imbalanced people need to have laws that are written out so that way it curbs their behavior, because they won't naturally do it themselves. That's why you have community standards on Facebook, because people's emotions get so out of line that they become so aggressively abusive that some people will post things that are very, very, very violent and very, very hurtful. Okay? And so there's standards that then have to be met, because people that are imbalanced won't have those standards. So somebody has to tell them standards. They won't know it innately. So it's like, I don't know, it's just interesting. But yeah, so if you have any trouble with any of my stuff, it may be something that, that you're still resolving within you. Because, I'm not saying that I'm the end all be all, I know everything. But I see it because it goes on with everything I've been saying. Okay? I may have said things incrementally, politically incorrect stuff, but doesn't take away from the bigger picture. With all the reactions to people's disagreements out there, then you enter into a war. Anytime you react, anytime that, you respond to someone's disagreement, then you're trying to convert. And so what's left? Well, what's left is you as a person exemplifying major balance, to where then what's the specific measurable result? The people in your life see the difference in you, to where they actually move to do something. They move to do the J juice. I have people that finally see, we have 2 or 3 new people in my group. Okay, I don't add a lot of people to the group because not a lot of people have converted, right? But some have, many have. Not saying a whole lot. Maybe there is a lot, but I don't see it because they don't tell me, because I don't know everybody that's doing the J juice. But the ones that I can see specifically are the ones I added new to the group. Something I've said, something I've been doing has moved a stranger to actually do the juice despite all of the crap out there. That's a specific measurable result that you have as a J juicer to know that what you're doing is aligned with the protocol, where you are exemplifying the change and the future that you want by people can see your before and after, not just the pictures on the Facebook, okay? Because there's pictures can be beautiful, but it doesn't mean that you're showing balance. It just means that you have a great picture. But what actually gets people to move to do J juice is when there's something else clicking in you. There's something else clicking in you that people can see. Okay? And that's going to take a lot for those that have really aligned themselves with the system. When you have so many people in your world that's part of the system, and you've really worked your ass off to stay in that clique of people, how do you speak to them in a way that doesn't seem like you're being a revolutionary? Because that's still revolution. That's not evolution. But how can you speak to them in a way, not like you're trying to convert them, but how do you exemplify yourself to where somebody in the mainstream that has all the degrees and all the things, how do you get them to see both sides? That it's still okay to be mainstream, but it's also okay to question and understand that it is about balancing out the micro and the macro together to where the specific measurable result is indefinite life. Programming a computer to move on, to go on indefinitely, can be like programming a body to live indefinitely. Those two can be one and the same. Bill Gates definitely had something, but he's aging, so his credibility is now waning because people are having more cancer disease and chronic illness because they're aging too. Bill Gates is aging, and so is his clientele, which means there are going to be more death rows, and they're going to blame him for all of his issues, for all of their issues, if they get a vaccine. If Bill Gates was smart, he would understand the J juice and have it as a backup, as a thing to do while you're doing the vaccines, because there's still 7 billion people that still need to transition to this new environment of the COVID and pig swine flu and all this other stuff. But no, the people that are trying to make a lot of money out there, like Bill Gates, are going to shoot themselves in the foot by not giving credibility to something like J juice that doesn't have a commodification of body parts. So, but whatever. But maybe that is the intention. Maybe that's why I'm getting so much backlash from Dr. Phil crowd, from all the people, because they do want people to they don't want people to listen to me. They don't want people to understand the power of salt and turning on the genes that have been turned off ever since you were born. And only certain hormones are turned on and certain turned off based upon intention. Maybe it's true. They don't want you guys to know this. And so that's why I get so much flack, because it's easier to keep people snowed in the thought that salt is horrible and fermentation is horrible, and take all of their prescription drugs and their holistic remedies and enter into all these stupid wars out there that you have no business belonging to. So that way you're distracted and not taking care of your body, mind, and spirit. And then you keep promoting the same imbalances in your society. So yeah, it's going to take someone that's tied in with the mainstream doing the J juice to figure out how to speak to the mainstreamers in their world. That's the challenge. Okay? You know, once I don't feel like I have to cater to somebody's feelings that were in my family, and I let it go. I let that person go. I had a lot more freedom to speak, a lot more freedom to focus on the hypocrisy of their profession, the hypocrisy of a lot of things. Yeah, they're not going to love the fact that I'm pointing out the hypocrisy, because yeah, when you've put thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in your education to find out that you really are damaging people, that's a hard pill to swallow. I understand. And then you know, even my own family wants to shut me up. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So at this point, you know, so the fact that I let people go in my world that are part of the mainstream that want to shut me up gives me more freedom to say what I have to say. So if you're feeling muzzled because you're afraid of what your friends and family are going to think, that is the box that you put yourself in. If you feel muzzled that you can't talk about J juice in a way where you can actually challenge the system in a way that would be very politically correct, then you put a muzzle on yourself. You might as well just put a mask on. Okay? And so now this is where it's like you're going to have to be okay with being on your own down the road. You're going to have to be. If you don't want to get anybody in your world to do the J juice that's right next to you, which I'm figured out that I'll probably be, on my own down the road. I'll have people like you on my Facebook, but, we'll still have our own life, but we'll have to have a mission statement. But no one's going to be right next to me 24/7, and I will be right next to you 24/7, because who wants that either? But part of me, has that wanting, like, God, what's going to happen in the future when I am, still living? Everybody in my world is passed away, and now the only people in my world are people on the J juice, and we're all living in different parts of the world, Then we got to have a commune of J juicers, but then, that even now, I mean, we want to be spread around because we want to be that example. We want to be that example to everybody. Okay? We want to be that example to everybody. And I know we're all working really hard to do that. But I know that if one way doesn't work, then try different methodologies of figuring out how to reach the people in your world. Try to figure out different methodologies, whatever it is. If this way doesn't work, try to say it this way. If this way doesn't work, try to say it this way. Because we have so much material. There's so much material that we can work from that it's not just, this way. There's so much what we can say. And there's so many combinations of words that we can use to string together to reach people in their perspective worlds, in their genres, in their belief systems. That's the beauty of J juice, is the fact that you have an infinite amount of potential to string together different words to reach people in their brainwashing. You could potentially penetrate the brainwashing. It's not going to happen for everybody. But if you don't try 100%, then, and you keep doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result, then, what are you doing? What is it? Because what is your life going to be really about? We have 7 billion people to work through. 7 billion opportunities. 7 billion opportunities to figure out how to exemplify J juice in body, mind, and spirit. Because the wars don't work. The war perceptions do not work. It's just like trying to convert someone from Christianity to atheism. It's not going to freaking work. Okay? Even though they're the same thing, there's still a baggage behind each of those belief systems. That's why there's a separation. So, I don't know, just something to think about. I got to go do my thing, but you guys have a good day.